Here's a video on my political issues section. I think, and this one is what I think about campaign funding. This is a political issue, campaign funding. What should we do about campaign funding? Well, I have not researched the subject, so I don't know, the pros and cons and everything. But I don't think that you should in order to make a video. You should be able and encouraged to make first part, second part, third part. You should be able to make the first part of a video, your first impressions, without doing any studying, and then your video after you've studied stuff, and then maybe if you ever become a super master at it, your super master video version. So this is what I think about campaign funding version 1 without doing any studying. Campaign funding. I know that they do have laws about campaign funding, like you can't get more than a certain amount of money from a certain person. You can't get have a television show going and announce your presidential bid at the same time. I learned that from Donald Trump. He likes to mention it all the time. And all this stuff. I don't like rules. I think that we should be as anarchical as possible and just give freedom. I think that there should be no rules to campaign funding. But at the same time, it should all be transparent. So, and I think that should be the only rule. I do think it should be a rule, because this is politics and this is the American people that we're talking about here. And, it doesn't, at that point, you're not talking about individual people. You're talking about people who control other people because they're leaders, they're potential leaders. So therefore, there should be a rule that it should all be transparent. But other than that, there should be no rules. So, for example, like Mitt Romney, he's running for president. Well, it should be compulsory on his running for president website how much money he spends on his website and how much money he got from each person. So there's just no secrets, and everybody knows. If somebody's like, oh yeah, well that guy got in power just because he spent the most amount of money just advertising himself, putting his face all over the place, it's pretty obvious just by looking at the numbers on his site. He got and if somebody wants to go, yeah, politics isn't about who's the best, it's about who has the most. And people are like, well, how do you know that? Well, look at the numbers. This is the guy who's president now. Look at his website. See, he spent more money than the guy who got second place and the guy who got third place. And when that happens, if you allow people to get as much money as they want, it actually makes it more transparent that's what makes people vote for them, is the exposure. And it makes people more responsible to choose who they really want to vote for. If some dude's face is literally, because there's no campaign funding rules anymore, some dude's face is literally all over the place. He's like on all the newspapers, front of all the newspapers and in all the magazines. His billboard face is all over the place. He's on all the talk shows. His ads are all over the place. People are going to get sick of that. They're going to be like, oh my God, this guy is all over the place. What the hell? And he says the same thing over and over. It's actually going to work against him if he's all over the place. People are going to they're going to be like, well, and then and if they know some other dude is running for president and he has another idea and he's actually smarter, they're just going to go to the YouTube and watch it, which is free, and then they're going to make their decisions themselves. And because in the future, people are becoming more and more able to make decisions for themselves, to find news stories on their own, by clicking on a certain newspaper that they want to read, or a certain story that they're looking after, or numbers for a certain development of a certain area that they're interested in, or watching certain shows that they want. They all direct themselves. Rather than allow people to direct them by just turning on the TV and kind of sitting there and just being like, what's on TV tonight? What are they going to tell me on the news tonight? People are more responsible, getting more responsible. So, therefore, when you in the process of choosing our leaders, they're going to be more responsible for just choosing whoever agrees with what they have to say, and they're not going to just be like, oh yeah, that guy's all over the place. Therefore, we shouldn't have all these rules. The problem with having rules about campaign funding and stuff is that the enforcing of it costs money. You got to have people in the department to monitor that and then decide on what the rules are, and it's just useless red tape. If you want to have a strong economy, you have to have the people who go to work and do stuff, doing stuff that produces stuff, not doing stuff that doesn't produce anything. That's why I had a video, fuck the FCC, because that doesn't do anything. It's just a bunch of, we spend like, I think it's 40 billion a year on the FCC. Or 40 million a year on the FCC. Yeah, just what? Monitoring and, you know, people and regulating and all this stuff for what, you know? It's kind of like the war. If we spent 20% of our budget for people like walking around the desert with their thumbs up their asses, it's like that doesn't do anything. And planes flying all over the place, using up gas, like a $20 billion plane just flying all over the place. What does that do? It doesn't do anything. That's why you're spending all that money on the government. It's just pissing money away like a freaking drunken sailor. There's so much stuff we spend money on that just doesn't do anything. All these enforcement stuff. So yeah, just release. I say we just relinquish that stuff. Just let campaign funding, forget about it. Just make it transparent so you know how much they're spending. You know, because people are starting to get more self-educated. And I think after that, it's going to actually make it easier for people with no money to win it. Because then people can... Because I think people running for president, it's going to change more than just whoever toes the party line is the guy who gets voted or the guy, you know, who's all over the news. But it's the dude who turns his campaign into entertainment because it's educational. Like some guy, he's running for president, like Ron Paul running for president. He's like, yeah, we need to change this because this and that and this to happen, and the history behind this is this, and if we make the new decision, and it's this educational thing. It's like you're going to a college course on economics and all the stuff having to do with politics, and you're learning all the issues, and whoever teaches the best, and you know you're done listening to his spiel of why he should be president. Well, it's not just that, but also you're done having like a lesson in politics and in foreign affairs and economics and all that. And you go, oh man, that was fulfilling. I'm going to vote for him because he just taught me. It's kind of like, you know, like in the olden days when you're deciding who to vote for and you're all starving. And so the guy hands you out a bunch of bread and you go, oh man, yeah, I'm going to vote for him because he helped me out by giving me a bunch of bread. Well, now it's, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for that guy because he helped me out by educating me. Oh, because education is food. People who like education and they're watching something and they're getting an education out of it, like a history lesson or something, they're actually having fun. It's like feeding their soul. They're like, oh yeah, that was good, that was enjoyable. So then it'll actually bring it back to the olden days where you don't watch a 30-second thing of somebody going, yeah, this, you know, Jimmy Johnson, the guy who you shouldn't vote for, he didn't pay his house mortgage and he's a son of a convicted felon, and then I have a picture of him like, you know, that's why you should vote for me. Well, instead of that, and then you hear him debate, and you hear him for like 2 seconds. It's like 30 seconds. My party line is blah, blah, blah. Well, fuck you. My party line is blah, 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 fuck you. Blah, blah, blah. Or the debates on TV. It's they ask him to answer a question, and so then they have like, you have like 1 minute, 20 seconds, Mr. President. Okay, let me finish. 5 seconds. Time out. It's like, what the fuck? Time out after 10 seconds? No way, dude. They should have like 3 hours to explain something. So, well, you just go to their YouTube page and you listen to talk for 3 hours. Only they're giving you a lesson on it. This is why we should change the policy. This is why my policy is going to be best. And they're talking. But you have the time for them. It's not like this timeout thing, oh, I have to go to work. You actually have the time for them because you're learning. And of course, you can listen to it while you're driving down the road or listening or running on the treadmill or standing in line or anything like that. And so it'll bring it back to the days of when the politicians were speaking for like 3 hours or 6 hours. They'd speak for like 6 hours. You know, Lincoln would go for 6 hours, and the dude Burns or whoever the dude who went against would go for 6 hours, and people would be there because they'd be getting an education at the same time. So yeah, campaign funding, get rid of those rules, man, and just but make it all transparent. Okay.